What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today we're going to take a look and a listen to Sheldon Whitehouse. He's going to be talking a little bit about the overpayment, this problem with overpayments when it comes to Social Security disability. So he's going to tell you guys a story, and then I want to talk a little bit about this because it's still happening. Martin O'Malley, the Commissioner of Social Security, they have made a few changes, which is good, but we are still seeing the incidence of overpayments and people having to pay money back after the fact. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification, clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And once again, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And one more way to support us is by joining our membership. You get customized emojis as well as custom badges. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to play Sheldon Whitehouse. He's going to be talking a little bit about this overpayment, and he tells a story which I think is it's good. I like hearing these politicians talk about their constituents. I think this is something that we should see more often because I think constituents, we get lost in all the sauce, if you want to say it that way, because you hear politicians talk about the wealthy all the time. They talk about corporations. They talk about all this different stuff, but you very rarely hear them tell stories about their constituents. So let me show you this. Here we go.
Thanks, Chairman. I'd like to lead into my questions with a quick Rhode Island story about a constituent and the challenges that his daughter faced. For their privacy's sake, we'll just call the daughter Mary. She had worked for 31 years at her local Stop and Shop, bagging groceries. She's a fixture at the store. She knows everybody who comes in. People love her. She's a valued member of the team. She also has a severe learning disability due to lack of oxygen as a baby. And she relies on payments from Social Security. In March of 2022, she received notice that her benefits were cut off and that she'd have to repay $17,000.
Wow.
You'll remember that that was a time when people were having trouble coming to work and staff were missing shifts or calling in sick. And there was Mary, always eager to help, to pick up some extra hours to help the team through. And because of that, she inadvertently went over her maximum allowable level with no notion that that had happened. The first she knew about hitting the income limit was the letter that told her she owed $17,000 and her benefits would stop. You can
just think how long it took. Like we have staff at the Social Security Administration, their job, their task is to make sure that this doesn't happen. They need to investigate this stuff. But just think it takes that long to where you get to the point where you owe $17,000. So we're talking, I don't know, in this case, maybe we'll hear, but this could have been years that they weren't able to figure this out. And then when they come back, now it's, oh, sorry, but you owe us $17,000. For anyone, that would be a lot. I mean, I don't care if you're, unless you're, I mean, if you're really wealthy, then yeah, that's not going to impact you. But if you're middle class, working class, if you're poor, $17,000 is a lot of money to have to pay back. I mean, that's essentially a vehicle, right? A used vehicle, at least at this stage.
imagine what that felt like in that family. Luckily, her parents were there to help her navigate the appeals process, but not everybody has parents available to do that. It took 2 years to get this battle resolved, and ultimately, Social Security deemed that Mary was not overpaid, and she received ultimately a reimbursement of nearly $23,000, having gone through all this hell and nonsense. So she was frightened enough, and the whole thing was such an unpleasant experience that she's actually reduced her hours just to steer well clear of having to go through this ever again. which I don't think is the behavior we want to encourage of people in Mary's situation. So, I have this lived experience of a constituent who frankly really got screwed by the system here. And we see it not only with Social Security disability benefits, but we see it with a lot of benefits where you're going along fine and suddenly there's a cliff, and the cliff is very, very steep and very, very dramatic in its effects. And I'd love to have each of your thoughts, perhaps as a question for the record, so you have a time to sit down and think about it and write something, about whether we should be considering a more broad solution to the cliffs problem that allows, for instance, senior cabinet officials to take a look at a terrible cliff and work around it just in the interests of humanity and good common sense. What guardrails should be set up around that process? Should it be under the APA as part of a rulemaking so that people have a chance to provide appropriate notice and comment? But over and over and over again, I see people innocently slamming into the cliffs problem and unintended and unfair damage being created in their lives. And I'd also, I guess, Ms. Zuleger, if you wouldn't mind commenting on the extent, she didn't appear to have hit the asset limit problem, although that's a pretty easy one to hit at $2,000. Even a clunker gets you over $2,000. I'm a supporter of Senator Brown and Cassidy's hike of that to 10,000 for individuals and 20 for married couples. But I assume that you would see that as a similar problem that we should also try to find a solution for.
Thank you for the question. Your example very similarly matches my testimony and the example that I gave in that testimony. And it does sound like, without having the details, that individual is probably on SSDI, where the cliff exists, because SSI doesn't have that same cliff drop off that we could term it.
Yeah, it was SSDI.
Yeah. So that, I do believe that there should be some considerations there. And it sounds very much like the example that I gave in my testimony as well.
And should we treat the asset limit similarly?
So the asset limit doesn't exist for the SSDI. It's the earnings and how those earnings are treated. And just on the surface, it does sound like that individual probably had some subsidies involved from that employer. And I hope that that's what, once those subsidies were developed, that may be why it was determined that she was eligible in the end. The example that I gave did indicate that sometimes we have a very hard time getting proof of subsidies from employers, and we can't make assumptions. We have to have the proof because we don't have any sort of medical background, and so we have to have proof from employers that subsidies exist.
Thank you, Chairman. Made no sense, did nothing but harm to have Mary thrown off the program. I applaud your efforts to bring a common sense solution so that kind of really cruel stupidity doesn't happen so often.
All right, so you saw at the end there, cruel stupidity. Senator Whitehouse, he always seems like he's on the verge of losing it. I don't know, going off. I don't know. That's just kind of the impression I get every time that I hear him speak. But let's talk a little bit about this. And she was talking about the subsidies, and that might be where the discrepancy came from. Now, what I don't understand, and what I think the Social Security Administration should be doing, instead of sending a letter saying that you owe $17,000, why not send a letter saying that they're looking into, the calculations and everything, and they're doing the investigation, not you have to appeal it, just letting you know, look, there looks like there could be something here that we need to look further into, but we're not saying that you owe us $17,000 right now. We're going to look into it more closely, and then we'll get back to you. That would be a better letter than just sending a letter that says you owe $17,000, and then upon appeal, then they find out, oh, you know what? We're sorry, we were wrong, and you don't owe us $17,000, because you're putting people through a lot of stress. Okay, you're putting people through a lot of stress when you haven't really looked into it good enough yet, because if something goes to appeal and it gets overturned in appeal, well, then obviously the investigation to get you to that point to say that someone owes $17,000, that investigation wasn't good enough. And so why not do a thorough investigation before you start sending out letters? Okay, maybe you don't even have to send out a letter at all. All you need to do is do a thorough investigation and say, oh, it was probably the subsidies. Let's go ahead and fix this problem and not send them a letter saying that they owe $17,000. But at the very least, if you want to keep that person in the loop, just send them a letter saying, look, we see some discrepancies here. We're going to look into it a little bit further. It's in the amount of $17,000. You don't owe us anything right now, but we're going to look into it. That would be better. And then that might even allow you in that situation to look at your records and say, okay, you know what? Maybe that's true or maybe it's not true. But it gives you a heads up. But doing it the way that Social Security Administration is doing right now, I don't think it's right. You should not just be sending out these letters, these blanket letters saying that you owe this amount of money if a thorough investigation has not been completed. So I want to know what you guys think about this, so let me know in the comments below. Also, please remember the change.org petition to increase Social Security benefits. Make sure you go over there, click the link, sign the petition, send it to your family and friends, and all that good stuff. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.